CDL Study Guide, Hazardous Conditions. Driving becomes hazardous when visibility is reduced or when the road surface is covered with rain, snow, or ice. Reduce your speed and increase your following distance. Night driving. 3 factors affect safe driving at night: the driver, the roadway, and the vehicle. The driver. Your vision and the vision of other drivers is not as sharp in low light conditions. Older drivers are especially bothered by the glare from the lights of other vehicles. Use your high beams when it is safe and legal. High beams increase your ability to see. However, glare from your headlights can blind other drivers. Dim your lights within 500 feet of an oncoming vehicle. Also dim your light when following within 200 feet of another vehicle. If a driver coming toward you doesn't dim his lights, don't get back by turning on your high beams. This will only increase the chance of a crash. Don't look directly at bright lights when driving. Look to the right of the road. Watch the side of the road when another car or truck comes towards you. It can take several seconds to recover from blindness caused by glare. Even 2 seconds of glare blindness can be dangerous. A vehicle going 55 miles per hour will travel more than half the distance of a football field during that time. Get enough sleep before you drive. Being tired and lack of alertness are problems for drivers at night. Most people are less alert at night, especially after midnight. This is even more true if you have been driving for a long time. If you are sleepy, pull off the road and get some sleep. You cannot control your need for sleep. Drivers who are tired may not see hazards as soon or react as quickly. This increases the chance of a crash. The roadway. During the day, there is usually enough light to see well. At night, some streets may have bright lights, but others will have poor lighting. On most roads, you will probably have to depend on your headlights. Less light means you will not be able to see hazards quickly. Pedestrians, joggers, bicyclists, animals, and other objects may be difficult to see. Even when there are street lights, the scene may be confusing. Traffic signals and hazards can be hard to see against a background of signs, store windows, and other lights. Drive slower when lighting is poor or confusing. Drive slowly enough so that you can stop within the distance that you can see ahead. Watch for drunk drivers. Be extra careful when bars and restaurants are closing. Watch drivers who weave, drive too slow or too fast, or stop for no reason. The vehicle. At night, you must depend on your headlights to see and to be seen. However, you can't see as much with your headlights at night as you can see during the day. Adjust your speed so that you can stop within the distance that you can see ahead. With your low beams, you can see ahead about 250 feet. With your high beam, you can see ahead between 300 and 500 feet. If you are driving with your low beams on, you should be able to stop within 250 feet. If you are driving with your high beams on, you should be able to stop within 300 and 500 feet. Make sure that your headlights are clean and adjusted properly. Dirty headlights give only half the light they should. This makes it harder for you to see and harder for other drivers to see you. If your headlights are out of adjustment, they won't give you a good view and they can blind other drivers. Be sure that all lights and reflectors are clean and working so that other drivers can see you. These lights include markers lights, clearance lights, tail lights, identification lights, turn signals, and brake lights. Be sure that your windshield and mirrors are clean. Dirt on your windshield and mirrors can increase the glare from other vehicles' lights. This will make it hard for you to see other vehicles and hazards. Fog. Fog reflects light and can reflect your own headlights back into your eyes. Use only your low beams. Look for road edge markings to guide you. Even light fog reduces your ability to see and judge distances. If possible, pull off the road and wait until the fog has lifted. If you must drive, be sure to do the following. Obey all fog-related warning signs. Reduce your speed. Turn on all your lights. Use only your low beams. And be prepared for sudden stops. Cold weather driving. Vehicle checks. During your pre-trip inspection, pay extra attention to the following items. Be sure that these systems are working correctly and that you know how to use them before you begin driving. Coolant and antifreeze, defrosting and heating equipment, wipers and washers, and tires. Be sure your tires have enough tread to provide sufficient traction to steer and to push the vehicle through snow. In addition, clear your vehicle of all snow and ice. Be sure your lights, reflectors, windows and mirrors, handholds, steps and deck plates are all free of snow and ice. As a precaution, carry the right number of chains and extra cross links. Make sure they fit your drive tires. Check the chains for broken hooks, worn or broken cross links, and bent or broken side chains. Learn how to put the chains on before you need to use them. Remove ice from the radiator shutters. Make sure the winter front is not closed too tightly. If the shutters freeze or the winter front is closed too much, the engine may overheat. Check the exhaust system for loose parts and for signs of leaks. Loose connections can let carbon monoxide leak into the vehicle. This can cause sleepiness. In large amounts, it can also kill you. Driving tips. Drive smoothly and slowly on slippery roads. Don't hurry. If the roads are very slippery, don't drive at all. Stop at the first safe place. Adjust turning and braking to road conditions. Make turns as gently as possible. Don't brake any harder than necessary. Don't use the engine brake or speed retarder on slippery or wet roads. They can cause the driving wheels to skid. Adjust your speed to the conditions. Don't pass slower vehicles unless necessary. Go slow and watch far enough ahead to keep a steady speed. Avoid slowing down and speeding up. Take curves at slower speeds and don't brake while in the curve. Remember, as the temperature rises and the ice begins to melt, the road becomes even more slippery. Adjust space to road conditions. Don't drive beside other vehicles. Keep extra following distance. Watch ahead for slowing or stopped traffic. Slow down gradually. Avoid driving through deep puddles or flowing water. Water in your brakes can cause the brakes to be weak, apply unevenly, or to grab. This reduces braking power and causes wheel lockups and pulling to one side. It could cause a jackknife if you are pulling a trailer. If you must drive through water, follow these steps. Slow down. Put your transmission into low gear. Engage the clutch smoothly. Put on the brakes gently. This presses the linings against the brake drums or discs and keeps mud, silt, sand, and water out of your brakes. Increase the engine RPM and cross the water while keeping light pressure on your brakes. As soon as you are out of the water, maintain light pressure on the brakes for a short distance. This will heat them and dry them out. Make a test stop as soon as it is safe. If the brakes do not work well, drive for another short distance with light pressure on the brakes. Don't apply too much pressure on the brakes or you may overheat the brake drums and linings. Hot weather driving. Vehicle checks. Make sure you have plenty of engine oil and engine coolant. Engine oil lubricates the engine and helps keep it cool. Antifreeze helps the engine under hot conditions and in cold conditions. While you are driving, check the oil temperature gauge and the engine temperature gauge. If these gauges show a temperature higher than normal, stop driving as soon as safely possible. There could be something wrong that could lead to engine failure or fire. Check engine belts and hoses. Check the belts for tightness by pressing on the belts. Be sure coolant hoses are in good condition. Loose belts or broken hoses can lead to engine failure and fire. While you're driving, inspect the tires every 2 hours or every 100 miles. Air pressure increases with temperature. Do not let air out. If you let air out, the pressure will be too low when the tires cool. If a tire is too hot to touch, remain stopped until the tires cool. Otherwise, the tire may blow out or catch on fire. Never remove the radiator cap or any part of the pressurized system until the system is cooled. Steam and boiling water can spray under pressure and cause severe burns. If you can touch the radiator cap with your bare hand, it is probably cool enough to open. You can also check the coolant level of a hot engine if a coolant container is part of the pressurized system. Driving tips. Watch for bleeding tar. In hot weather, spots where tar bleeds to the road surface are very slippery. Drive slow enough to prevent overheating. High speeds create more heat for tires and the engine. In desert conditions, the heat may rise to a dangerous level. The heat will increase the chance of tire failure, engine failure, and fire. Mountain driving. Gravity plays a major role in mountain driving. On upgrades, gravity slows you down. The steeper and longer the grade, and the heavier you load, the slower you will drive. When coming down a downgrade, gravity increases the speed of your vehicle. Try to plan ahead and get information about any steep grades along your planned route. Select a safe speed. Base your speed on the following: the weight of your vehicle and cargo, the length of the grade, steepness of the grade, road conditions, and weather conditions. Never drive faster than the speed posted on the maximum safe speed signs. Remember that the speed posted on these signs could be too fast for a large vehicle or for the weather conditions. Pay attention to warning signs that tell the length and steepness of the grade. Use the braking effect of your engine to maintain a safe speed. The braking effect of the engine is best when the transmission is in a low gear. Save your brakes so you can slow down or stop for traffic and road conditions. Shift the transmission to a lower gear before you start down the grade. Don't downshift after you've gained speed. You won't be able to shift into a lower gear. You may not be able to get back into any gear. For older trucks, use the same gear for going down a hill that you would use to climb the hill. New trucks have more powerful engines and can climb hills in higher gears than older trucks. Therefore, in newer trucks, use a lower gear for going down a hill than you would use for climbing the hill. Be sure your brakes are adjusted before you begin a trip through the mountains. If you use your brakes too much, they will fade. Excessive heat causes the brake drums to expand. As a result, the brake shoes have to travel further and exert less stopping force. This situation is made even worse if the brakes were not properly adjusted to begin with. Remember, the more you use your brakes, the more quickly they will go out of adjustment. Use the proper braking technique. Use your brakes on a long, steep downgrade, plus the braking power of your engine. When your vehicle is in the proper low gear, use the following braking technique. Apply the brakes just enough to feel a definite slowdown. Reduce your speed to 5 miles per hour below your safe speed. This should take about 3 seconds, then release the brakes. When your speed has increased to your safe speed, repeat the first steps. If your safe speed on a steep grade hill is 40 miles per hour, don't apply your brakes until your speed reaches 40 miles per hour. Apply your brakes enough to reduce your speed to 35. This should take about 3 seconds. Release the brakes. Repeat these steps until you reach the end of the downgrade. Know where the escape ramps are located on your route. Escape ramps have been built on many steep downgrades. They are made to stop runaway vehicles without injuring drivers and passengers. Escape ramps use a long bed of loose, soft material to slow runaway vehicles. Use them if you lose your brakes. Railroad crossing. Railroad crossings are always dangerous. Always look both ways. Trains may come at any time from either direction. Follow these rules when crossing railroad tracks. Don't try to race a train to the crossing. It is very difficult to judge the speed of a train. Reduce your speed. Be sure you can stop before you reach the tracks if necessary. Because of the noise in your cab, you won't hear the train horn until the train is very close. Don't rely on train warning signals or flagmen to let you know of an approaching train. Double tracks require more caution. A train on one track may hide a train on another track. After one train has cleared the crossing, check again. Be sure that no other train is coming before you cross the tracks. Railroad crossing with steep approaches can cause your vehicle to hang up on the tracks. This is most likely to happen to vehicles that have low ground clearance, such as drop frame trailers and car carriers. If you get hung up on a railroad crossing, notify the police immediately so that the nearby trains can be stopped. Be sure you can get all the way across the tracks before you begin to cross. Do not shift gears when crossing railroad tracks. A full stop is required at railroad crossings if you are carrying passengers or hazardous cargo. You must also stop if the lights are flashing, the arms are down, or you are directed to stop by signs or the police. Brake failures. Brakes kept in good condition seldom fail. Most hydraulic brake failures occur for two reasons. 1. Loss of hydraulic pressure, or 2. Brake fade on long hills. Loss of hydraulic pressure. When the system won't build up pressure, the brake pedal will feel spongy or go to the floor. Take the following steps. Downshift. Putting your vehicle in a lower gear will help slow the vehicle. Pump the brakes. This will sometimes generate enough hydraulic pressure to stop the vehicle. Find an escape route. While slowing your vehicle, look for an escape route, an open field, side street, or escape ramp. Air brake fading or failure. Excessive use of the service brakes causes overheating and leads to brake fade. Excessive heat in the brakes causes chemical changes in the lining which reduce friction and cause the brake drums to expand. As the overheated drums expand, the brake shoes and linings have to move farther to contact the drums. The force of contact between the shoes and drums is also reduced. Overuse may increase brake fade until the vehicle cannot be slowed or stopped at all. Brakes that are out of adjustment can also cause brake fade. To safely control the vehicle, every brake must do its share of the work. Brakes out of adjustment stop doing their share before brakes that are in adjustment. This causes the other brakes to overheat and fade. Brakes can get out of adjustment quickly, especially when they are hot. Therefore, brake adjustment must be checked frequently. Brake failure on downgrades. Driving slowly and braking properly will almost always prevent brake fade on long downgrades. Once the brakes fail, however, you must look outside your vehicle for something to stop it. Your best hope is an escape ramp. Ramps are usually located a few miles from the top of a downgrade. Signs will be posted telling you about it. Use the escape ramp if it is available. If you don't see an escape ramp, take the least hazardous escape route, an open field or a side road that flattens out or turns uphill. Look for an escape route as soon as you know that your brakes don't work. The longer you wait, the more speed your vehicle will gain and it will be harder to stop. Tire failure. The sooner that you know a tire has failed, the more time you will have to react. The major signs of a tire failure are: sound. A large bang often indicates a blowout. However, it may take several seconds for your vehicle to react and you might think that the sound came from another vehicle. Anytime that you hear a tire blow, assume that it was one of your tires. Vibration. If your vehicle thumps or vibrates, a tire may have gone flat. With a rear tire, this may be the only sign you get. Feel. If the steering feels heavy, one of the front tires has probably failed. Sometimes, failure of a rear tire causes the vehicle to slide back and forth or fishtail. However, dual rear tires usually prevents this. If a tire fails, take the following steps. Hold the steering wheel firmly. If a front tire fails, it can twist the steering wheel out of your hand. Keep a firm grip on the steering wheel with both hands at all times. Stay off the brakes. Braking when a tire has failed could cause you to lose control. Unless you are about to run into something, stay off the brake until the vehicle has slowed down. Then, brake gently and pull off the road. Check the tires. Even if the vehicle seems to be handling normally, many times you won't know that a dual tire is flat unless you look at it. Crashes. If you are in a crash and not seriously hurt, you need to take 3 steps to prevent further damage or injury. Protect the area, notify the authorities, and care for the injured. Protecting the area. Protect the area to prevent another crash. This is the first thing you should do. If your vehicle is involved in a crash, try to move it to the side of the road. This will help prevent another crash. If you are stopping to help at the scene of a crash, park away from the crash. The area around the crash will be needed by emergency vehicles. Put on your flashers. Set out reflective triangles to warn other traffic. Make sure that other drivers will see them in time to avoid another crash. Notify the authorities. If you have a CB or cellular telephone, put out a call over the emergency channel or dial 911 before you get out of your vehicle. If not, wait until the crash scene has been protected, then phone or send someone to phone the police. Remember to determine where you are so you can give an accurate location. Care for the injured. If a qualified person is helping the injured, stay out of the way unless asked to assist. Otherwise, do the best you can to help anyone who is injured. Don't move a severely injured person unless there is a danger of fire or passing traffic makes it necessary. Stop heavy bleeding by applying direct pressure to the wound. Keep the injured person warm. Fires. Truck fires can cause damage and injury. Learn the causes of fires and how to prevent them. Know what to do to extinguish fires. Causes of fire. After accidents, spilled fuel and improper use of flares can cause fires. Underinflated tires and dual tires that touch can cause fires. Short circuits due to damaged insulation or loose connections can cause fires. Driver smoking, improper fueling, and loose fuel connections can lead to fires. Flammable cargo, or improperly sealed or loaded cargo, and poor ventilation can cause fires. Fire prevention. Pre-trip inspection. Make a complete inspection of the electrical, fuel, and exhaust systems, tires, and cargo. Be sure that your fire extinguisher is charged, and also be sure that you know how to use it. Inspections while traveling. Check the tires and hubs for signs of excessive heat whenever you stop during a trip. Frequently check the instruments and gauges for signs of overheating. Use your mirrors to look for signs of smoke from the tires or other areas of the vehicle. Safe procedures. Don't get careless. Always follow correct safety procedures for fueling the vehicle, using the brakes, handling flares, and other activities that can cause a fire. Firefighting. Your life and the lives of others may depend on your ability to fight a fire. Study the instructions printed on the extinguisher. Know how your fire extinguisher works before you drive the vehicle. If a fire occurs, do the following. Pull off the road. Park in an open area away from buildings, trees, brush, other vehicles, or anything that might catch fire. Don't pull into a service station. Notify the police of your problem and location. Keep the fire from spreading before you try to put it out. If your engine is on fire, turn off the engine as soon as you can. Open the hood as little as possible. Shoot the fire extinguisher through the levers, the radiator grill, or from the underside of the vehicle. If you have a cargo fire in a van or box trailer, keep the doors shut, especially if your cargo contains hazardous materials. Opening the doors will supply the fire with oxygen and will cause it to burn very fast. Use the right fire extinguisher. By regulation, B/C fire extinguishers are required on commercial vehicles. A, B, and C are an acceptable alternate. B and C type fire extinguishers work on electrical fires and burning liquids. Don't use water on electrical or gasoline fires. A, B, and C type fire extinguishers work on burning wood, paper, and cloth, as well as burning liquid and electrical fires. Water can be used on wood, paper, cloth, and burning tires. Don't use water on electrical fire. You could get shocked, or on a fire involving petroleum products. If you're not sure what to use, especially if you have a hazardous material fire, wait for qualified firefighters. Extinguish the fire only if you know what you are doing and it is safe to do so. When using a fire extinguisher, stay as far from the fire as possible. Aim at the source or base of the fire, not up in the flames. Position yourself upwind. Let the wind carry the fire extinguisher to the fire instead of carrying the flames to you. Be sure you have a path of retreat if you are unable to control the fire. Continue until whatever was burning has cooled. If you don't see any smoke or flames, don't assume that the fire is out. It could be smoldering and it could restart. Hazardous materials. Rules for all commercial drivers. All drivers should know something about hazardous materials. You must be able to recognize hazardous cargo, and you must know if you can haul it without having a hazardous materials endorsement on your commercial driver's license. Hazardous materials are products that pose a risk to health, safety, and property during transportation. The table below lists 9 hazard classes. You must follow the rules for transporting hazardous materials. These rules ensure safe drivers and equipment. They also tell you how to contain the product and how to communicate its risk. Definition: play cards are diamond-shaped signs put on the outside of a vehicle to warn others. They identify the hazard class of the cargo. To ensure safe drivers and equipment, drivers of plate-carded vehicles must have a commercial driver's license with the hazardous materials endorsement. Drivers must learn how to safely load and transport hazardous products. To get the endorsement, you must pass a written test on Section 9 of the manual. If you transport hazardous products in a cargo tank with a gross vehicle weight rating of 26,000 pounds or more, you will also need a tank endorsement. Never drive a vehicle that needs plate cards unless you have a hazardous material endorsement. Transporting hazardous materials without the proper plate cards is a crime. You will be stopped and cited, and you will not be allowed to drive your truck any further. It will cost you time and money. Driving without the proper plate cards could also risk your life and the lives of others. If you have a crash, emergency workers will not know about your hazardous cargo. Hazardous materials drivers must also know which products they can load together. Section 9 of the manual covers these regulations. Before loading a truck with more than one type of product, you must know if it is safe. If you do not know, ask your employer. To contain the product. Many hazardous products can injure or kill on contact. Federal regulations tell shippers how to package safely. This protects drivers and others from contact with hazardous materials. Other regulations tell drivers how to load, transport, and unload bulk tanks. These are called containment rules. To communicate the risk, the shipper uses shipping paper and package labels and markings to warn dock workers and drivers of the presence of hazard materials, the hazard class, and the specific hazardous material. The shipping paper. The shipping paper describes the hazardous material being transported. Shipping orders, bills of lading, and manifests are examples of shipping papers. Shipping labels are 4-inch diamond-shaped labels and are placed on hazardous materials packages. These labels inform others of the hazard. If the diamond label won't fit on the container, shippers put the label on a tag. For example, compressed gas cylinders that will not hold a label will have tags or decals. After an accident or hazardous material spill or leak, you may be injured and unable to tell others about your hazardous cargo. Firefighters and police can prevent or reduce the amount of damage and injury if they know what hazardous materials you are carrying. Your life and the lives of others could depend on quickly locating hazardous materials shipping papers. For this reason, you must tab shipping papers related to hazardous materials or keep them on top of other shipping papers. You must keep shipping papers in a pouch on the driver's door, or in clear view and within reach while driving, or on the driver's seat when you are out of the vehicle. Plate cards are 10 3/4 inches on each side and are diamond-shaped. Cargo tanks and other bulk packaging display the ID number of their contents on plate cards or orange panels. A plate-carded vehicle must have at least 4 identical plate cards. They are placed on the front, rear, and both sides of the vehicle. Not all vehicles that carry hazardous materials need plate cards. The regulations about plate cards are given in Section 9 of the driver's manual. You can drive a vehicle carrying hazardous materials if it does not require plate cards. If it requires plate cards, you may not drive it unless you have a hazardous material endorsement on your commercial driver's license.